Saturday morning of the B&G July Campout here in Greenwater. We've got quite a crowd of people have joined us now, and had some bad weather this week, so there was one day that we skipped, didn't have our meeting yesterday because, well, if anything happened during the storm, we don't know about it. So we're going to pick up with a hike that we took the other day. Yeah, we went up into the Buck Creek area and went for a beautiful hike through the Emerald Forest. There was a few knocks that were heard, some stick breaks, things that were happening out there. And then as we finished our loop back to where we started, we came across an amazing glyph in the middle of the trail. And
it was very deliberate.
Somebody pointed out that there were 5 of us on that hike, and there were 5 parts to the stick, or 5 sticks that were in the glyph. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Last night we went on an amazing little night walk, which made me think we'd have more activity in the tent last night. I didn't, but the walk we had up the hill up here, there was, what, 6 of us?
Yeah.
Would you like to share what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
No, let's share. So we headed up the mountain, I guess the ridge up here on the side. Most of you are familiar with it. I wasn't. Aaron and I were new to that road, but we'd seen lights before. They have a real organic, living quality to them. Not as though they follow you, but sometimes they do. These ones that we saw didn't, but they were between Barb. You weren't up there, Kevin, no. Who else was up there with us? Yeah.
Maynell and
Right.
Patrick.
Yeah. So there, Aaron and I stayed below while a couple went up ahead of us, and in between us, Aaron and I were kind of sitting back to back watching different parts of the forest, and she initially saw the white light, and it was low to the ground, and then I turned around quickly after she said she saw something, and immediately I saw it, and it was familiar to what we'd seen in Cottage Grove and what she'd seen before, but it had a proximity that was close to you guys. So I was wondering, like, are they trying to signal us with a flashlight? And going back, because we tested what this light could have been, is if nobody had a flashlight, it was a weird flashlight, first of all, because it dimmed and it kind of pulsed in and out of view, and it was milky.
And big. It was large. It was a large light.
It was large. It was over the size of, definitely over the size of a softball. I would say it was probably closer to like a dodgeball or, maybe a volleyball actually. And it had a core, and it had this real soft, glowing edge to it, and it just kind of dimmed in and dimmed out. It was low to the road.
It seemed to light up the road. It seemed to light the road up. So we thought you guys had turned on a headlamp, maybe,
No, we
on the
didn't.
ground to signal us. That's why I was whistling really quietly to see how far away you were, and you didn't hear us the first time.
Right. And we have our little vape mods, and they have a little digital light in it, so we tested those to see if that was a possibility. We need vape discipline from now on out in the woods.
Black tape.
But there was a mechanical digital screen on these. It's really small, and it has kind of, digital harshness to it. These lights are natural looking, even though they're so unnatural. Like, they belong in the woods. Like, oh, that's a beautiful, like, living thing, like the trees and everything else. And once you are comfortable enough with the phenomena that exist at all, then you just you become comfortable with the supernatural and the paranormal, and these things are just it's a sight to behold what their connection is to the rest of the activity. I always say it's like a cocktail party of the paranormal, where the lights, the shadow people, the Bigfoot, all the stuff, the UFOs are kind of like really cool cocktail party where different guests arrive. And last night the lights arrived, but we didn't have nothing that I would call Bigfoot activity. We thought maybe as we were sitting over here we heard something past the creek bed that would have been indicative of screaming or something way off as we were all kind of sitting around here with a glass of wine. I'm not sure because we had some campers move in on us while we were up here, but anyway, that was cool.
What was the distance between you and the light?
Yeah, so the distance would have been less than 110, 115 yards. It seemed to be probably on the road. Um, it appeared high up because it was an elevated sighting. And I think it was,
About 150 feet.
I think that Barb actually was ahead of us and the light was actually above her. I thought it was between us, but they also saw this light. So it must have been the fact that Barb was up ahead of us with a group and then the light was just right beyond that. So we're all witnessing this thing, but it's so dark up there. You know, you could barely see the tread on the road as you're walking without a light. We didn't have any lights on. And then we saw a light off the drop-off in the trees, and that was just a small, what I would call like an arc welder white flash. And it was a tremendous drop-off into the creek here, and it was even with the road, if not maybe a little bit higher.
When we were ahead of you up on the hill, the first thing I saw was two blue sparkles on the bank about head level, just ahead of us. And I saw him over, oh, Tom was with us. I saw him right over his shoulder. And then, Maynell, you saw him too. Well, then we started hearing these little whistles, and we were thinking, what kind of bird is up at this time of night?
Yeah.
And we were thinking it was coming from above us, ahead of us on the road. We didn't realize that it was Aaron trying to signal
right,
us.
right.
How close you guys
Yeah.
were, far away, yeah.
Yeah. So then, when we were coming back down, I was kind of hanging back, and everybody was ahead of me, and I saw two very bright, white with a bluish tint lights over your heads. And it definitely wasn't stars because in the background were trees and the mountain that was across from us, so it was all black behind them. But the first one did kind of like a little squiggle. It moved a few feet.
Yeah, horizontal.
Yeah, and then a few seconds later there was a second light of the same color just below it. And Tom saw one of those.
Mm-hmm.
He was walking with me. Well, then when we got down to where you guys were, you're all looking up on the bank. And somebody said, well, there's lights up on the bank. There's a light. Well, as soon as somebody pointed it out, oh, that was Patrick.
Yeah.
Which is
And-
weird because I knew where that bank was. So I knew where that bank was because that's where my base camp used to be. So we were looking up. It was weird because it was like a blue twinkling. It just looked like a star. It just looked like a bluish twinkling star. But it wasn't high enough to be through the trees because you could actually see the stars above it. And the only thing that was weird about that is it was moved. And then we'd have to move a few inches to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd have to move it, and then it'd dim. You'd have to move a few inches to see it again. And so, but we all saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I only got a glimpse of it when it was first pointed out to me, and it was bright enough that it was illuminating the area around it.
Right.
And then for me, it moved, and I didn't get a good glimpse of it when it was really strong like that again. But it was very similar to the bluish tint and the lights that I had just seen over your guys' heads
Yeah.
a few minutes before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah.
Lovely. Beautiful.
And then as we were walking back down, just over the edge, like you said, there were a few bright flashes, and I was kind of leaning back and forth and wondering, okay, are these like campsites down in the
Right,
distance? But it seems to me if there was a bright flash of light from a campsite, that light should have still been there. You know, we should have still been able to make out light. It wouldn't have just been a flash.
Mhm.
And then as we got down past that area, everybody was still a little lower on me in the road, and I kind of just turned around and said thank you. And I turned back around, and the rock face up here, I saw
Right.
a rock just kind of shift out of the top of it and tumble down right beside us all there on the road. And yeah, that was pretty cool. You could actually see it make it out at the top where it just kind of pushed out
That's cool.
and dropped. And then I think there was one more light that I saw as walking backwards right up on the corner at like ground level, just one more white flash.
Remember you saying that after you
Yeah.
said thank you. It's like,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Nope.
I'll share.
Okay, here you go.
Just real quick, when we went down to the tent and got ready for bed, and we were in bed, I was laying there, and it was very silent. And then at the foot of the bed, on the outside of the tent, there sounded like a scratch that went, like a nail scratch that went this way and then came back that way. and then there was another like maybe 10 to 15 seconds after that. When I heard that, I went to high alert and I had my eyes open, and with the moonlight, it's almost like the side of our tent was kind of like a projection screen. It was nice and lit up. So I was looking to see if I could see any movement on the other side. There was no movement. There was no sounds of footsteps or anything, but that very deliberate scratch back and forth. And then about 10 to 15 seconds after that, there was like a tap that was like maybe 4 to 8 taps. Like that. And then that was it.
Well,
That was on your tent?
It was on the tent, yeah.
What side of the tent?
The door side. So we've.
Where's your head?
If I was laying like this, it was on this side, at the feet. It was at our feet,
Okay.
and then the entrance to the tent was right here. So left to the entrance, and it was just right across. I recreated that sound using my nail this morning. So, yeah, that's about it.
wow, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought ours was a mouse, but you're talking about that on the door. I heard the same thing last night. Seriously, I even told Maynell, I said, "Man, it sounds like a little mouse was at the door and went around the side of the whole tent. It left one side away, but all 3 sides, it just went right. And now I'm thinking about it, did sound more like a scratch going around there. So it was the same thing that you were hearing. Started at the door, then I went around. Now that I think about it, it sounds more, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, our tents are right next to each
Yeah,
other
it's,
too.
ours are right next to each other, so, and it was kind of heading back towards your way. So now that I think about it, I don't think it was a little mouse, because I don't think a mouse can make that kind of noise like
No,
that.
I just have a quick question. Tom, did you come over to the tent this morning? Our tent?
Gordon, can we move this over?
So, do you want? I'm just going to share it because you won't. You want to share? So I guess Kevin was awake at 7:30 this morning, and he heard your voice outside the tent say, "Hey, Kevin."
No way, because that was,
He was sleeping. He was the last one up this morning.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't exactly your voice, but it was really, really close.
it might have been me trying to kick you out of there.
Is that what it was?
Wow. I was thinking the same thing before you said it.
It wasn't us.
No, we were sound asleep.
It was Tom. It was Tom's voice.
Wow.
And
So-
Tom has a real distinctive voice too. I mean, that would be one hell of a mimic.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Oh,
Max has something. It's on.
It wasn't last night, but 2 nights ago, I was walking down the trail to put something back on my dad's truck, and as I was about halfway to, I heard tree snapping in the distance, and at first I thought maybe it could be the fire, but it happened like 5 times in a row really fast, so
wow.
I thought it couldn't be that, but I just kept on walking.
Okay.
Now maybe speed walking.
You are a brave little man.
So I quickly unlocked the truck, put the thing, locked it, ran back.
Did you
Good job.
hear anything else?
No, that was it.
That was it. And other than being scared, did you have a kind of a sense that something might be watching you?
Maybe a little bit.
Did the hair stand up on the back of your neck or on your arms? A little bit.
I already had goosebumps because it was cold outside.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very brave. Good job.
Thank you, Max.
Our future squatcher right there.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I guess now we're done this time. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Get out there, have some fun today, have some adventures, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning to tell you all about it. All right, thanks everybody.